we're very used to just watching movies with male leads. And the female characters are often just a love interest or, the femme fatale or whatever. So there are very little stories with very strong female characters.
Get Inspired, your podcast for more inspiration and your business talk about how to connect, how to empower, and how to get inspired. With amazing guests interviewed by Ricarda, our founder of MyCollective.
Lena Stahl is changing the narrative of women in German cinema as a film director and scriptwriter. Her latest film, Mein Sohn, My Son, won the prize for Best Production at the Munich Film Festival last summer. And she's now on a mission with Warner Brothers and Netflix to tell more female stories. In today's podcast, Lena not only shared some insights into the film industry and her mission to bring charismatic and interesting women characters to life, but also shared some personal insights on co-parenting, learning to let go, and the art of team meetings with your family. Lena, welcome to MyCollective.
Thank you so much for having me. It's very exciting to see all of you.
Great. And so, Lena, short introduction of you. You're a film director, scriptwriter, photographer, lots of other things, and a mother of two. Yeah. And you've just shown your first movie a week and a half ago in Munich called Mein Sohn, My Son. And you've showed it at the Munich Film Festival, got a big prize for it. So congratulations for that again.
Yes, thank you.
And can you give us a very, very short intro of what's the film about?
This is a movie about a mother and her grown-up son, and they embark on a journey together because in the beginning of the film, the son has a very severe accident and almost dies. And then she decides to get him to this rehabilitation center, which is, across the country, and she decides to get him there herself. And as they're traveling, they're on this, very confined space of a car together. And of course, things come up that they haven't been talking about for ages, and it gets very intense between them. Mm-hmm. And, you can say that basically for her, it's about letting him go in the end, as he's a grown up already, but, really realizing that she has to let go. And for him, it's about, it's a contradiction, because for him, it's about trying to becoming an adult and trying to, taking responsible for his own life. So they both on a journey, an outer journey and an inner journey. So the film is about their journey together.
And so in this relationship between mother and son, this, what you were just saying, this core parental skill, I would call it, to protect and to be there for the child. And then ultimately, once they grow up, to let loose. We've actually turned these in our program into two entire training modules called How to Raw as a Parent, and the other one is the Art of Letting Loose. So why is that topic important to you?
You mean the topic of letting loose then, or letting go, or both?
I mean, we've seen in the film you or the mother character played by Anke Engelke is trying to let loose, right? She is giving her best. The son is also 25 years old, so it's probably about time. But I am assuming that there's a reason why you've chosen this sort of, let's say, topic or this angle of parenting.
Yeah, I mean, as I'm a parent myself, what struck me the most when I became a mother was that actually in the moment you become a mother or you get this child into this world, there's another thing which is sort of born with the child, and that's the fear of losing it again. And I found it very overwhelming, and I didn't expect it to be that, life-changing. And of course, you hear about this all the time, but still, when you experience it, it just changes everything, your whole perspective on your own life. And I don't know, it's always there, it's always around you. And on the other hand, as I'm a daughter myself, I know how important I feel it is that my mother lets me go, or let me go at this, crucial time of your life where you have to really get out there and do your own thing. And I always feel that this is a very crucial time. Plus that, fear is also something that I think as a theme for our lives in, especially right now, is is such a strong force. And I feel that fear is the worst of them. I think it's the biggest enemy you can have. But on the other hand, not being afraid of anything, like the son is in the script or in the film, is neither a way to live your life. So I thought these, opposites really attracted me, and I wanted to make something about that.
But there's not only the fear of losing him, there's also her, or the mother as a character, and how she actually gave up her career or her dreams when she had her son. And this is very much the topic that we are quite often discussing here at MyCollective, is, do you need to give up your dreams when you have a child? Does that make you unhappy necessarily, or can it make you happy? Or how does that reflect on the child? I think in the film, there's a bit of resentment for the son having put a full stop or an end to her career. Why do you want to tell that story?
Well, I think it's the story that almost all my friends, all my female friends, share. And of course, as a filmmaker or as an artist, it's especially crucial for me. I was really amazed that there were really so many that really gave up their creative careers. I didn't do that, but I was very, I don't know if you know that, but I grew up I spent a lot of time in Scandinavia growing up. And when I came back, I was really amazed how far behind I felt the German society was in terms of equality, especially when it came to raising a child and having a career. So when I decided that, me and my husband, we had this discussion about having kids, that was actually something that I, talked about quite openly from the beginning. I said, I could never give up my career. I could never do it. So we have to find a way already now. We have to discuss it already now, as he's an actor. So he's also in the creative business. So it's really difficult, actually. But I saw so many around me, creative couples, where the men just went on doing their careers and, emerging on big things. And the women just stayed at home raising their children. And I found it just completely wrong and amazing that it happened that way. I would have never thought that. And we're really strong, creative voices. So I felt that was really, really difficult. So for me, it felt sort of natural to have my main character in the movie she's a photographer. So this story sort of naturally came into her character because it's something I don't really know and that really bothers me.
Mm-hmm. But I think, in the film, the mother is sort of a slightly different generation. And I would say in our generation, most women actually do plan to come back to their career, right? It just not always happens. Question is, why does it still not happen? And maybe more precise, I think the topic of birth is quite an important topic that you touch upon in the movie. And you hear it that people say, once you've given birth, things just change. Everything changes. Was that the case for you? Did everything change? You said you did go back to your career track, but did everything else change? What is the meaning of birth for a woman on this path?
Well, you know me, so you know that it was such a big deal for me because I had my first child almost died during childbirth. So, and me too. So it was a big thing. So obviously everything changed, but I don't know. After that, I decided to have another child, so it didn't really keep me from having a child and another child. But I just found that as this thing was something that was with me, and, of course, you don't tell everybody about it all the time, but I sort of decided from very early on that I wanted to be very open about the stories because I found that, it is with me, changed everything completely. And the moment I started talking about it, all these stories came from other women, and, it doesn't have to be a trauma like it was with me. It can be a little thing, or it can just be that the child doesn't sleep or cries all the time, or that you just, whatever happens with your own body that you can't cope with, everybody has sort of a little trauma within them, I feel. Mm-hmm. But I was really amazed how many stories were really traumatic. Mm-hmm. And people just don't talk about it. It's such a taboo, even in our society, or maybe especially in our society where it's so natural, as you just said, that women have careers, women have children, and they are sexy, and they're outgoing, and everything is just perfect. And you have the project child, as we say in German, and you just have to do that too. But it's not just a project; it's just something that can be completely life-changing, or it is. I think, for everybody, in certain ways. And also I found that, that was my personal story, but I think that this is actually something that, relates to all societies and all people, because everybody has this thing, that they don't talk about, that you can never know about if you don't get to know them. But they, it just changed everything, and just, they carry it along in their lives, and it influenced all the things they do. So I think that was something that I wanted to explore in the movie. And it's not explicitly talked about all the time, but there's something, and you feel that it's there all the time.
And tell stories that are not told all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, in case you guys haven't realized, Lena is, I would say, a feminist, or you could call her a feminist, or you could even call her an activist for gender equality. And you want to tell a different story. And through storytelling, through film, actually change the narrative, or if you want to say the zeitgeist, the spirit of time. I don't think you can translate the zeitgeist. So how do you want to do that in maybe other stories as well? Or can I maybe phrase it differently? Could you maybe write a movie so that we can all get rid of our collective guilt syndrome, and maybe even the concept of Rabenmütter?
That's really funny, because I wrote a whole series which was called Rabenmütter. Rabenmütter, Rabenväter, actually. But I wrote that together with a colleague. So yeah, I've done that. But it's just, it's not the way it works, I'm sorry to say. But I think that's something that I would like to change, or that I would like to be part of, is, especially in my business, which is, as you all know, a very male-dominated business, especially directing. Is, I think it's like in the US, it's 4% women, female directors, and the rest is men. So this is really, a very tough percentage, I guess. So what I wanted to work on, and that's actually something that's happening in Germany now, is that there's a quota, and
quota for whom? For
female directors. And you can always discuss it if you're pro or contra, but I really think it's a good thing, because I feel that you have to sort of school a society. As harsh as it is, I would love to things to change, but they just don't do that. So I think that there has to be a tool to school people and perspectives. But as you were talking about the contents of stories, I think that the first thing that I would like to change is to change the main protagonist's point of view, because we're very used to just watching movies with male leads, and the female characters are all often just a love interest, or the femme fatale or whatever. So there are very little stories with very strong female characters leading actresses. And that's why, for example, there's this, the example you might know, Reese Witherspoon. She founded her own company actually in the US after she realized that there were no scripts for women her age, and there were no scripts for women that wanted not to be just the blonde sidekick, but to be, in the center of the story, and to maybe explore different stories like Wild, or, what. So she started to do that. And there's actually now, I met with them today, and it's really nice. They're two very young female producers, and they're attached to a very strong and very, very big company. And they're set out to just focus on female perspective in movies.
So changing the story through. So if you can change it through movies, can you give us 3 tips for what mothers can do to do it themselves? Something like a DIY version. We're not all script writers, but you can change your own story. What would you say is really important for mothers to embark on that journey, and to keep the focus on keeping their dreams? It doesn't need to be a career, but it needs to be sort of their dream. What would be the 3 things that you would like to give everyone on a journey?
Oh, God. Well, I think key is obviously sharing the responsibilities, whether it's your husband or boyfriend or girlfriend or wife or nanny. I don't know, It just, you need to not have the feeling that you have to do everything yourself. It's not possible. It's just not. And that's attached to that, don't feel guilty for not being there like 24/7. I mean, I had a mother who ended her career just to be there for me and my brother, and she was very unhappy all the time. And I could just feel that, So it doesn't mean that you have to have a career, as you said, but if there's something that you're missing out of just because you have a child, I think that's always wrong, because in my view, it'll always backfire. And you can't be a strong, fulfilled, loving mother when you're not happy yourself. It's just, it's like in a relationship, you can't be a good spouse if you're not happy. And then that's very key. And the other thing is probably, networks, as you guys are already in. I mean, we have strong networks in our business, female networks, which are really, really, really helpful and inspiring. Talk to other women, how they deal with all these issues, and that's always a very good thing. And then I think very important is to go away sometimes, just be somewhere else, just get a new perspective on your life at home. It doesn't have to be, a retreat somewhere, I mean, I dream of that, but I can't always afford that. But I mean, there's always small ways of just escaping your frame and just be somewhere else and have a different view on things. I think that's, especially with children around, you're never alone. It's just not happening. And I think being alone and reflecting on things is one of the main keys to finding what you really need.
Thank you so much. So these are 4 things now. So we have a lot of tips.
I think it's 3. Okay, the first thing was just one big package.
But the last question, which we always ask to everyone who's with us as an impulse, because in our trainings, we convert parenting skills into leadership skills. And there's a whole science behind it. And there's a lot of individual learnings. Can you share one parenting skill that you developed as a mother over time and that you feel is actually the leadership skill that you are now using in your job or in fulfilling your dream?
I think it's definitely getting everybody in one boat. That's what I have to do as a director. I mean, if I have a vision, I have to try and get everybody on board. And we have to feel as a team. And I think as a family, you are a team, bottom line. I mean, that's just it. And you can't always be the one deciding everything. The kids also have to have the feeling that they're part of the decision making, I think. And that's also, that touches on a different thing, and that's talking about stuff. Like, I was never talked to by my mother or my parents. They had their stuff and we had our stuff. And, there was not a very healthy discussion within the family. So I try to always talk to my children about what's happening. Why are we stressed right now? How can we deal with it? What do you want? Do you feel that there's something we can do as a family? Sort of have small team meetings, so to speak. I think that's something that is very important for me and my family.
As a mother and team leader, so to say, in a job sharing position as a team leader with your husband.
Yes.
That's a very, very nice ending. Thank you so much for being with us for this interview. Thanks a lot, Lena.
Yeah, thank you.